This is the Planning and Land Use Management Committee. I'm Councilmember Weezer. I've been joined by Councilmember Marquise Harris-Dawson, Gilbert Cedillo, and Felipe Fuentes. We will start the agenda and the meeting and go to item 10. It's a report from our Director of Planning.
Thank you, Chair Weezer, members of the Planning and Land Use Management Committee, Vince Bertoni, Director of Planning. Just a few things I want to bring up. We have actually one issue area in terms of we are in the process of circulating for public comment, 2 ordinances that would have impact citywide in the city of Los Angeles. And as the committee knows, city council members will make a motion and they'll get seconded and so forth, and then it comes to us to craft an ordinance that reflects the issues that may be arising in all 15 council districts or those that are being complied in, so that these ordinances apply to. So we're in that process now in 2 ordinances that have a lot of variety of ideas and endpoint and views from the various parts of our city. One is regarding home sharing or short-term rental. So that's an ordinance, a draft ordinance that has been released for public comment. There will be a staff public hearing held on May 21st regarding that, and the last day for comment of that is June 6th. So after that public comment period ends, it'll go to the City Planning Commission for its recommendation up to this committee. The second is the baseline mansionization and the baseline hillside ordinances. And those ordinances touch much of the single-family neighborhoods in the city of Los Angeles. You may remember there was a draft ordinance that was released last fall, towards the end of last year. I think it was in December. We had lots of comments from there. I think we had a community meeting where we had at least over 300 different comments. There were a variety of viewpoints that were expressed. Some felt it didn't go far enough. Some felt that it went too far. We have taken those comments and we have released another draft of that, which is different than the first draft because we're trying to balance a lot of competing interests. And so we will be going to public hearings before staff hearing officer in May. So we have May 4th, 9th, 10th, and 16th. And the last day for comment of that will be June 10th. So you see the short-term rental or the home sharing ordinance as well as the baseline mansionization are going along similar timeframes. So we're hoping to bring those up to the Planning Commission in the middle to end of summer and then to this committee right after that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. We look forward to hearing the baseline mansionization ordinance. It's been under some work for a very long time and look forward to hearing it here as well in Plum. So thank you. Any questions, comments, observations? Any observations, Mr. Roberto?
No, Councilman.
No? You didn't notice that Cal got like the #1 athlete recruited for 2016? And oh, you're talking about Jared Goff, right? Jared Goff just #1 draft pick for the Rams. Go Rams. All right. Anyway, as a Cal alum, I had to bring that up if he had any observations.
Maybe Mr. Cedillo should comment.
UCLA had a great recruiting for the NFL. Anyway, item number 4, we'll send on consent. There are no speaking cards. Do we need to read the item into the record?
Sure. Item 4, Councilman, this is a report from the Planning Commission, and it relates to a zone change for a new project for 25 new detached single-family dwellings on 24 small lots in CD6.
Okay, number 5, we have a number of cards, but we were going to continue this item as well as number 7. Let me get back to those. Item number 6, we could move on consent. Can you read that into the record, please?
Sure, Councilman. This is a report from the East LA APC. This is a zone change ordinance for the development, again, of a small lot subdivision consisting of 24 single-family homes in CD1.
Okay. So moved on consent. Item number 9. We will move on consent as well.
So you're granting the hardship exemption?
Yes. Okay. Could read that in?
Sure. This is an application by David Chasen and Meredith Chasen. They're submitting a hardship exemption from the baseline mansion and station ICO, and this is to construct additional space, a second floor in their existing single-family home in CD5.
Okay. So number 8, we are going to continue to May the 10th, per the applicant and Council District 10. We have a card here on that item, but we will continue that item till that day. And that item is?
That item, Councilman, is an appeal by William Dickey. He's a representative of the La Cienega Heights Association. He's appealing the action relative to the approval of a vesting tract map for 18 lots and also a mixed-use development in CD10.
Thank you. All right, can I ask, is there a representative here from Council District 5? Hello? Yes, there you are, sir. There's been a request and your office as well to hear the items on item 7. We were going to continue it, but there's been a request to hear public comment today. On item number 5, another project in CD5, same thing. We were going to continue it, but there's a number of public comment cards. So, any requests your office has on these items?
Sure, Councilmember, thank you very much. On item number 7, since...
State your name, please, for the record.
Sure, Faisal Al-Sari, Councilmember Koretz's office. The councilmember does want to request for item 7 only to have at least some sort of public comment period. We've had a number of people come a very long way to come and speak before you. We did have a last-minute request to continue, and so that's why this item is being continued. Generally, we do approve the continuance request that the applicant is asking for, but we definitely don't want to have people just drive down here for nothing. So.
Okay, there's been a motion to continue and hear the comments. City Attorney, just from a procedural point of view, if that's the direction we go, anything we should be aware of? If we do that, does it change anything with timing requirements or anything else?
No, Adrian Corsani, City Attorney's Office. If you do open public comment, it should be made clear to members of the public that public comment will be taken at the next meeting, and no decision is being made today.
Okay. So we will hear public comment today. We'll continue this item to a date uncertain at this time.
The request on item 5, Councilman, is for a 120-day extension.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get to that one right now. Okay. That's fine. Thank you. On item 7, we'll go ahead and hear that item and take in public comment, and we are not going to make a decision on that. The intent is to continue it. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
So Adrian Corsani, City Attorney's Office, to clarify, we're not hearing the appeals today either. Everybody gets their minute of public comment, but it's not for the appeal hearing.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. So we'll start with that. Thank you. Do you want to say your comments now, or you want to reserve those later on the actual merits of the project? No? Yes?
I will reserve my time. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, for the appellant.
So are you going to listen to item 7, Councilman?
Item 7,
Okay,
yes.
so-
You can read that into the record, please.
Sure. Item 7, Councilman, is appeal by Paul and Jill Brindley. This is a CEQA appeal relative to the construction of a new single-family home, 1,291 square feet in CD5.
Okay, the appellant, Jamie Hall.
Real quick question before we start.
Yes?
I'm actually representing the appellant, and I heard the city attorney say that we weren't going to hear the merits of the appeal, so is this the 1 minute? Should I not do the long-winded presentation, wait until the next hearing for that? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I represent the appellant, Paul and Jill Brindley. I'll cut this really, really short. This is a CEQA appeal. We're asking the city to undertake an environmental analysis of this project and to think about the impacts associated with wildlife. There's an existing wildlife corridor on this parcel. We have documentary evidence showing that. We commissioned an expert report from someone with over 20 years with CEQA knowledge and experience. We're simply asking the city, the planning department specifically, do an analysis. Think about how do we mitigate the impacts associated with this new project. And we're asking the city to be thoughtful about how they act. We have broad-based community support, as you can see in the documents before you, the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy, the RVA, the Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council, Citizens for Los Angeles Wildlife, and over 60 neighbors are supporting this appeal. So I will reserve the remainder for the next hearing, but we just want the city to be thoughtful and follow through with the wildlife corridor motion that was just adopted. Thank you.
Thank you. Project representative or the, is the project representative here? I'm looking through my cards, can't seem to locate it. And just normal procedure here is to have the representative after the appellant. You could state your name, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Elia Thompson. I'm with the law firm of Sklar Kirsch. Just so you know, Councilman, to make your life easier, there were 4 members of my party. They will not need to speak. So you can take Ms. Petkoff, Vladi, I have no idea how to say his last name, Tomoleski, I believe. He's the architect, and Lynn as well. So Lynn, Vladi, and Sandra, you can take them off.
Okay.
Again, Elliot Thompson for the owners of this single-family lot. I too will just cut to the chase that this is a project that received unanimous support by the Mulholland Design Review Board and in fact was lauded for their very sensitive, thoughtful project that was built into the hillside. They were granted a CEQA exemption, as every single family home in the state of California is granted a CEQA exemption. That's not only the state law, but it's also a number of different court cases that have also ruled that categorical exemption class 3, category 1 is appropriate. This is a 1,300 square foot home, and we would like for everyone to think about the impacts associated with requiring an MND or an EIR for every single family home, regardless of whether or not there are any unusual circumstances involved. Thank you.
Thank you. So for the record, Lynn Tarbox and Vladia Tomilevsky is waiving your time. Yes? Thank you. Marisol Villamor, Samuel Paz, and Janet Carper.
Thank you, Marisol Villamor, for the record. Hogue Canyon is one of our few remaining wildlife corridors that is untouched and protected, existing today in the same pristine, natural state as it did for the indigenous Chumash people. Wildlife habitats and regular migratory patterns have developed, creating a unique environment where wild animals safely coexist next to urban and residential areas. However, as these habitats are blocked, reduced, and fragmented, these animals are forced into urban settings where they simply cannot survive, as evidenced in the in-depth study of Griffith Park's mountain lion P22. Allowing unsupervised development of this parcel would be detrimental to the animals that have always coexisted with the residents. As Councilman Correct said, we must prove to them that they are a vitally important part of our urban jungle, and we must do our part to protect their habitat. This development is actually quite significant, not only because it blocks the last thoroughfare connecting Hogue to Stone Canyon, but it would be the first project developed in the actual canyon itself, which creates a slippery slope for further unsupervised development of this untouched canyon.
Thank you.
Please be consistent with your goals and protect the canyon and the wildlife. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Samuel Paz. I'm an attorney. I represent my grandchildren in this matter. They live in Hogue Canyon and oversee the canyon. They live on Nayland Drive. And it is, I've been a resident of Los Angeles all my life. Grew up in Highland Park and Lincoln Heights. Graduated from Franklin High School. In a time 50 years ago when there was many wildlife areas in those areas, the hills were wonderful. We did have wildlife. That wasn't protected, and we don't have that same wildlife, with the exception of a couple of the parks. This chance that you have to stop this project and to possibly have it go to a different avenue where it does protect the environment is important. The canyon is huge, and it extends many miles. I have personally seen deer and coyote. The wildlife, the bird life is fantastic in that area. It's one of the largest areas in Los Angeles to be protected. And I think closing off this access for the animals is extremely important to stop. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Janet Carper, Paul Brindley, Jill Brindley, and Cliff Neiman.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm Janet Carper. I'm a former board member of Citizens for Los Angeles Wildlife. I'm standing in for current members who have a scheduling conflict, but otherwise really wanted to be here because, as we've heard, Hogue Canyon is one of the premier wildlife areas in the city of Los Angeles, as noted by the Mountains Recreation and Conservation Authority. Development of the subject property has the potential to permanently close one of the last east-west facing entries or exits for wildlife entering the Hogue Canyon, which could result in significant adverse biological impacts. Council members, this really hands down warrants absolute thoughtful process from here on out, because this is truly one of the last remaining important areas for wildlife there that, if it's cut off, is going to be really devastating. And as you know, CLAW was the main proponent for the wildlife corridor motion, which was just unanimously voted by the council members, which we're very grateful for. So we hope that that will be upheld in this very sensitive and precedent-setting instance here. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Paul Brindley, and I'm one of the appellants. I appreciate that the easiest route to take today would be to deny the appeal. After all, this proposed development is one single-family home. However, in this case, there are unique and special circumstances that warrant further review. As you know, the proposed project lies within the Mulholland Scenic Corridor specific plan. The project's lack of compliance with many of the guidelines in that specific plan, primarily as it relates to neighborhood compatibility and wildlife, provides more than sufficient support to grant the appeal. As stated earlier, if the council is sincere in its support of the wildlife corridor motion that was recently passed, then on these grounds alone, there are more than sufficient reason to grant the appeal. Furthermore, there is a majority of support in our neighborhood and nearby residents. Over 60 different people have provided support of letters to the Plum Committee as well as the South Valley Area Planning Commission. Thank you.
My name is Jill Brindley, and I'm appealing the proposed development of 2471 Neyland. Since 2001, we've enjoyed watching baby deer and baby bobcats walking along Hogue Canyon, coyotes howling, owls hooting, and hawks swooping. The canyon is home to beautiful oak trees and flora and fauna. This tiny parcel has served as an indisputable, crucial, and highly active wildlife corridor between Hogue Canyon and the Stone Canyon Reservoir. There is a stream and shelter that has sustained our wildlife since the 60s. When we renovated our home, it did not expand into the canyon, and we maintained its existing footprints. Wildlife still access the canyon via the trail between our home and our neighbors. This past weekend, we canvassed our neighborhood. Including the appeal of the DRB decision, we received over 60 unique written responses in support of our appeals. The majority came from Neyland and Hamner. Not one neighbor disputed the fact that this is a highly active wildlife corridor. Everyone talked about how incredible it is to live in Los Angeles and have a front seat for wildlife sightings in such a beautiful and tranquil environment. You can't be in favor of the wildlife corridor motion and not support our appeal. Please support us and find a way to compel the developer to remove the fence that is currently obstructing the wildlife. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Twining, Nikki Miner, and Robin Greenberg. After you, sir.
Oh, thank you. Cliff Nyman, I'm the chairman of the Architectural Review Committee for the Roscoe Muir Valley. In addition to all these environmental issues, this site, just so everybody knows, was actually a dedicated apron to a street. It was never intended as a buildable lot. It is probably 30% of the lot sizes per the CC&Rs and per the zoning, and the lot width is probably less than half per the CC&Rs and the existing zoning. It is totally inconsistent with the neighborhood, in addition to all these environmental issues that this project will prevent. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Steve Twining President Emeritus of the Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council, Chairman Emeritus of the Federation of Hillside and Canyon Associations. This city wants build. Lot size is substandard. This house size is substandard. It's a paper lot. It's totally out of character for the neighborhood. The city wants Manhattanization, and it's not appropriate in our neighborhood. The city needs housing for executives and professional class. It doesn't need substandard housing in a neighborhood that the houses are much larger. Additionally is the wildlife corridor. The lot area is less than 28% of the required lot size under the existing zoning requirements for the City of Los Angeles Parcel Profile Report. The site is listed as an R15-1H zone with a site area of 4,194 square feet. Thank you very much. We're very much opposed to this project.
Thank you.
Nikki Miner, resident in Benedict Canyon Association, Vice President of the Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council. Gentlemen, there is an old song, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. They took all the trees and put them in a tree museum and charged the people $1.50 to see them. Well, you know, this is what's going on. And this is going on in the hillsides. The balance of nature is being terribly disturbed. And this particular project was once a paper street, and we all know what happened. It was sold, and it was now one person can be responsible for killing the balance of nature throughout the hillsides. And when you do that, the nature will still go on, but the predominant creature will be the rats. Look into Google the LA Times and so forth, and you'll find that.
Thank you. And my apologies, I don't mean to cut people off. We do have a minute to speak. We usually let people finish their thoughts or their sentence, but we have to just be fair with everyone and allow them to speak the allotted time. Robin Greenberg, Robert Schlesinger, Sandra Petkov.
My name is Robin Greenberg. I am currently president of the Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council. I am 3 times past president of the Roscoe Valley Association. I live 2 doors away from this proposed project. By the way, the applicant for the proposed project has never come to any of the neighbors about this project. The property abuts Hog Canyon. I call it Hog Canyon. I've lived in my house 46 years next door to this Hog Canyon, a protected environmental sanctuary with thousands of feet of perennial blue line stream that support a broad oak, sycamore, riparian woodland, unparalleled in the eastern Santa Monica Mountains. It is imperative that this core habitat east of the 405 freeway be protected to ensure that a viable wildlife corridor is maintained as far east as Griffith Park, to quote Jack Wise in a letter to Joe Edmiston, 2007. Joe Edmiston, at that time executive director of the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy. This letter in my hand from Jack Wise. This is a picture of a deer. We used to have a lot of deer in front of my house. Now I have none. They have been chain linked off. Now they are not allowed to come into my street.
Thank you.
Robert Schlesinger, Bel Air Beverly Crest, Land Use Chairman, and Benedict Canyon Association. I'm going to read a part from the Roscoe area. The lot area is less than 28% of the required size under existing zoning requirements. Per the City of Los Angeles Partial Profile Report, the site is listed as RE151H zone with a site area of 4,192 square feet. The street frontage is identified as 40.7 square feet. It is our understanding that the minimum allowable size for RE15 zone is 15,000 square feet. The minimum, which may be reduced to 12,000 square feet. The minimum street frontage per RE15 requires is 75 feet. Based on the criteria, this lot does not remotely appear to be legally buildable site. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandra? Okay. Susan Ocarroll, Wayne from Encino.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Susan Ocarroll, and I'm an environmental consultant with more than 25 years of experience doing CEQA documents. And you have in your packet a detailed letter from me laying out all the unusual circumstances associated with this lot. It's been processed under a categorical exemption, and categorical exemptions are classes of projects which the Office of Planning and Research has defined as projects that are likely to not result in significant impacts on the environment and thus not to need more detailed CEQA review. But CEs are not absolute, and they're qualified by location or by the presence of unusual circumstances. So the city, in its wisdom, has required environmental documents for single-family homes for other projects in the hillsides when there are unusual circumstances present. This is another case of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Wayne from Encino and Faisal Alsari from Council District 5, if you wish to speak again.
Here we go. The criminals begin. Now everybody knows the project's a piece of shit. Everybody knows it. They don't want it. Community doesn't want it. Listen to the community. Beverly Crest, Bel Air, rich people, $500, $600 an hour lawyers. These people will sue you and rape you in court over this project. They're not going to go away. This isn't the ghetto. It's not CD1 over on 8th Street where you got those homeless people still fucking my property. These are people that are professionals. They know their rights, and they know they're being fucked on their zoning because you're giving entitlements to somebody over and above the current owners around the parcels. This is ridiculous. This is spot zoning. This is BS. No on this project. Wrong, wrong, wrong.
Council members, thank you very much. Faisal Alsari for Councilmember Koretz. As you heard, this is definitely of importance to the community at large. There are some unusual circumstances at this lot, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we'll continue this item with no objection to a date uncertain. Thank you.
I think the request was 120 days, Councilman. No?
Item 7, I
Okay,
have a
Madam
date uncertain.
Number 5. Sorry.
Number 5, we're going to that now. Yes.
Very good.
So ordered our number 7. And number 5, there's been a request to continue that for 120 days. And here as well, the CD5 has requested that we hear comments on this. So we'll go through the comments. I don't have the...
Number 5, right?
Number 5, okay. Yakov Bensri, Sandy Wiener, and Stephanie Levine. And as you know, we're going to hear this again in 120 days. So just...
Before you start, I just want to ask, have you decided to continue it already? Because we wanted to ask for you to deny the continuance.
We haven't taken the official action, but I'm 99.9% sure we're going to continue it.
As a Cal?
Yes.
As a Cal alum even, okay. Well,
because Cal wants it that way.
Okay, I just want to speak then to the continuance. I'm a adjacent property owner, Stephanie Levine. That's my name. I don't feel that a continuance is appropriate at this point. There's nothing new that the developer has offered. Everything that they've asked for with this project has been struck down by your department, by Plum, and also by the Planning Commission. And if a zoning or a change was appropriate, it should be looked at wholesale for the entire community, not for this one project.
Great, thank you. And Yakov Bensri. You were Stephanie, right? Stephanie. Hi. Is it Levine or Levine? Levine, thank you.
Hi, Yakov Bensri, 423 South Hummel Road. And I'm denying the continuance, and any public comment if there should be a continuance, should be when the hearing will resume on this matter.
Thank you. Sandy,
I'm Sandy Weiner. I live at Williman and Colgate. I've lived there for almost 21 years. I oppose a continuance. There is absolutely more traffic now than there was before. It'll just get worse. This is an absolute aberration. I think you should deny a continuance.
thank you. John Harris, Daniel Friedman, Robin Gibson.
John Harris, Hamlin Road. This is the map of, we got signatures of people. The red dots are those that oppose this project or any change to zoning. The blue are children, and the green dots are those that support this project. As you can see, there's no green dots there. Last year also, I went to the property and noticed, I talked to the neighbor, Robin, and there was paint chips and trampled plants, and I asked what happened. She said, Fish Property sent the painters over today. I said, were they wearing masks? Were they wearing suits? You know, any plastic? She goes, no, they were just painting and scraping. And they violated the EPA's lead protection laws. You know, just total violation of the regulations. Just want you to know the type of people you're dealing with here. And then I got 27 signatures of people who wish they could be here. I'd like to submit that to you. And thank you very much.
Thank you. You can submit those to the clerk. She's sitting right there. Daniel Friedman, Robin Gibson, Wayne Spindler, and Faisal El-Sari from CD5. Welcome.
Councilman, my name is Daniel Friedman with Jeffrey Mangels, Butler Mitchell. Thank you so much for hearing this. And we, on behalf of the owner, Fish Properties, I'm here just to once again request that this item be continued. This continuance request was submitted a long time ago. It's been agendized as a continued item or an item expected to be continued. And I understand that a lot of people came out today nonetheless, but I think we all understood that there would be a high likelihood of this being continued, and we think that's appropriate given the fact that the owner has been aggressively working with the community. There was a new letter submitted into the file, I believe yesterday, a neighboring homeowners group who has submitted a request that this item not only be continued, but that they support the project. So we respectfully request that the item be continued to allow for the owner to continue to do the outreach to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Robin Gibson, Wayne Spindler, and Faisal El-Sari.
This item was continued and the 120 days have passed already. We are after the continuance now. At this time, November was the last date to file an appeal. The reason for the continuance given was for Fish to work with the community who is 100% opposed, 100% opposed, and has always been. We've been through 3 hearings. In the 3 hearings, there is nobody in favor of this project. We went to a meeting. Cortez is not in favor. There is no good for anybody that comes from this project. It will remove affordable housing and create none, and it will change zoning. Now, Fish did speak with one person in the neighborhood, and they gave him a resounding no over these past 120 days that they have received. And in fact, their appeal is false, as all the prior documents were.
Thank you.
They're comparing a 1-lane street to 6-lane streets and saying the zoning should be the same, and it can't be.
Thank you. Wayne Spindler, earlier you were Wayne from Encino, now you're Wayne Spindler on my card.
Well, in honor of Councilman Peppa Pig Paul Cortez. So, anyway, look at this. The scumbags disapproved one of these things. Yay! Let it stand. Good. We have a good decision. That's why they want to continue it. They want to continue it for blackmail. Because you got to have blackmail, right? So I've seen this before. This thing's come up before. I think the continuance is fishy. So it looks like it's a fishy continuance for the fish. So no to the fish. Let the fish swim with the big fishes today, and let's make a decision. Because it looks to me like our little planning zoning people actually got their heads out of their ass on this one. It looks like that they made an actual good decision. So I think the community and the neighbors are going to have to win this one. Let it go down today.
CD5.
Council members, again, thank you very much for holding public comment here. this is also a project that has some unusual circumstances, and definitely appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you. So at the request of the local council office, we will continue this for 120 days. And we're leaving the comment period open for that, for the next meeting. Thank you. Any objections? So ordered. Thank you. Next item is item number 1.
Sure. Councilman, item 1 is a communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Joseph Cortez to the Harbor APC.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. My name is Joe Cortez. I've born and raised in Los Angeles, grew up in Wilmington, went to school in San Pedro, now live in Harbor City. I've raised a family in the Harbor area and lived there my whole life, and I'm privileged to be asked to serve on this committee, maybe help out the community and give back. If there's any questions,
Yeah, any questions? No questions? Okay, well, thank you for your agreeing to serve on the Harbor Area Planning Commission. I understand this item is coming up tomorrow in council, so we look forward to that. And thank you for your service.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
So moved. Any objection? See none, so ordered. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. We have one public speaker card that came in the nick of time. Wayne from Encino.
So as I give the warning, don't serve on these planning commissions. Don't do it unless you understand a couple of things. Number one, LA City Hall is being investigated by the FBI. Number two, it's a criminal organization. And number three, the crime rate in the harbor area is up 41% this year. Now, is that a good thing to do, to serve in the Harbor Area Planning Commission in the middle of a civil war basically taking place? I don't think so. So the only solution to stopping this is to stop these people from filling these slots. Because I go to these commission meetings, and then they hear me a few times, and then they resign. Now, I don't go down there very much anymore to the harbor area, because you can't move in the goddamn 110 freeway anymore. But please, don't serve on these commissions. Let these people rot.
Thank you, sir. With no objection, so ordered. And Mr. Encino, you submitted speaker cards for 4, 6, 8, 9, and 10. Those items have already been heard. So we will note and file your cards. Item number 2, please.
Item 2, Councilman, is there are 3 city attorney prepared ordinances impacting Granada Hills. One of them amends the Granada Hills specific plan. The second one is an amendment to the floor area SUD. And the third one is an amendment to the K district boundaries. And those ordinances have been prepared by the city attorney.
Okay, staff here to present on the item. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Priya Mahendale with City Planning. So what's before you today are 3 implementing ordinances for the adopted Granada Hills Knollwood Community Plan. Council adopted the community plan back in November of last year. The ordinances were presented to the Plum Committee on October 20th, 2015, and at that time, the committee referred them to City Attorney for form and legality review. Since the City Attorney review is now complete, for your consideration today are the 3 implementing ordinances. The first is an amendment to the Granada Hills specific plan. The amendment includes revised boundaries and additional requirements for landscaping, setbacks, and new design guidelines. The second implementing ordinance is the old Granada Hills residential floor area district, which proportionately limits the size of single-family dwellings based on the lot size and is more restrictive than the current citywide baseline mansionization ordinance. And lastly, an amendment to the Granada Hills Knollwood Equine Keeping K District, which includes additional lot conditions for future subdivisions to ensure that future equine keeping is feasible. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll go to public comment now. And this is one item, one agenda item. I see some cards were submitted, 3 cards for different items, but we're taking one vote on all the agenda items as published on the agenda, so it's 1 card per agenda item. Linda Romney, William Kuzman, Richard Fisk.
Good afternoon. First and foremost, I'd like to request a continuance. As you know, Plum meetings require 10-day notice. My notice is postmarked April 27th. Secondly, there's a violation of the Browns Act by combining 3 unrelated items and allowing the public to speak only 1 minute. You are hereby given notice that you are in violation of the Browns Act. And in continuation, the fact of the matter is that there's always been a notice problem. Originally, all the stakeholders received this throwaway item. Yes, this throwaway item notification in February of 13. What did it notify the individuals? It notified them that their area, according to the map, is a preservation area, quote unquote, not an area of change. Thereafter, the Planning Commission only mailed 73 notices to the individuals that attended this meeting. As you know, there is a requirement of a 24-day notice to all the individuals affected by the zoning change.
Thank you. William Kuzman, Richard Fisk.
Hi, everybody. My name is William Kuzman. I'm here representing the Old Granada Hills Homeowners Coalition, which is a group of over 330 people that have signed a petition against the RFA ordinance. Now, it turns out that the RFA ordinance is a Community Plan Implementation Overlay District. It is a zoning ordinance. All 3 of these issues right now are zoning ordinances. They require notification per section 12.32C4, written notice to all the homeowners. We've never received it. As a broker, we have a problem in our neighborhood. These houses are being bought and sold, and owners aren't disclosing because they don't even know that this ordinance is being before you today. They've not been noticed before or afterwards, and the same thing happened with the interim control ordinance that was passed in lieu of a Brown Act violation that we were never on the agenda and noticed for. So I also want to read one thing from you about the myths about CPI. Well, first of all, you have 2 conflicts of statement from city planning. One says this came from the community, the other said from council. One of them's wrong. I have 27% signatures against it. That's more than 75% for it, which it would have been if it came from the community. So, and you missed your 90-day statute to pass this that expired on January the 1st.
Richard Fisk, Marian Silatos, and Jill Tovey.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Richard Fisk. I'm the editor and publisher of the Old Granada Hills Residents Group newsletter, and I'm also on the Granada Hills Chamber of Commerce. The newsletter itself has been produced for over 14 years, 12 years, excuse me. I've been doing it myself mostly, and it is going to 1,200 residences in the Old Granada Hills area. With that, I'm in full support of the ordinances, and we hope that can be promptly enacted so we can get this community plan to bed. It's been going on for 7 years, and there's been plenty of notifications. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jill Tovey, and I've lived in Granada Hills for over 43 years. And I've noticed that over the past 20 years, developers have been building unusually large homes on lots in our area. And I'd just like to keep our small town feel, and I'd appreciate the council if they would uphold and support the Old Granada Hills Residential Floor Area Supplemental Use District. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Sir, you were John Soleto? I'm sorry. John Soletos and Maria Soletos? You just spoke, right? Okay, there you go. Marian
Solidos will not be speaking.
Okay.
I'm John Solidos. I'm a board member with the Old Granada Hills Residents Group, and I also live in the Granada Hills area. I'm in support of the measure. I'd like to thank the city planning for all the work and the effort that's been done, for the outreach that's been done. we appreciate the effort. I want to support the effort that's been done and hope that you'll pass that. Thank you very much.
Maria Fisk. I confused the names, right? They called Maria Solidos.
It was close.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, gentlemen, chair, plum members. I'm a member, a resident of Old Granada Hills for 30 years. We have seen our community torn apart by untoward development. This issue began in the late 90s, culminating with multiple community meetings, multiple planning meetings, with wide distribution and mailings. It's unforeseeable and unconscionable that somebody could say that they didn't get the notices. I'm here to ask you for your support for our RFA and the implementing ordinances. Our residents group wholeheartedly supports the Old Granada Hills RFA as well. It will not only allow for reasonable developing that is more in character with our residents in our area, but it will also put some brakes on extra large development in our area. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Wayne from Encino. And Hannah Lee from Councilmember Mitch Englander.
It sounded good, but then they talk about these Brown Acts. She's right. It should be 3 separate items noticed for public comment. It may be a good idea overall if it limits development, but if you're violating the Ralph M. Brown Act, it ain't going to matter what's going to happen. It's reversible. So you should go back and re-agendize them as 3 separate items and notice them, because she's told you about it. She's put you on notice. You have an opportunity to correct and cure. Now the problem is, that's what a reasonable city would do, but we don't live in a reasonable city. We live in a criminal-run enterprise. And one of your committee members is CD12's Mitchell Englander, and he wants this. So you're not going to care what they say. You're going to ram it through. But beware, she does have a very, very good point that these 3 items are not related together for Brown Act notice.
Chairman Huizar, council members, good afternoon. My name is Hannah Lee, here representing Councilmember Mitchell Englander, who unfortunately is not in committee today. He's over at Budget and Finance Committee discussing public safety. So he very much wanted to be here today to reiterate his continued support for this Granada Hills Knollwood Community Plan update and for these 3 implementing ordinances. We just want to recognize our Granada Hills community members and stakeholders for their continued engagement and input and efforts throughout this process, and of course to our planning department staff and city attorney staff for all of their hard work in bringing this forward. With that, we just would ask for your support in moving these ordinances to council. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So before, if there's any discussion on this, I do want to ask the city attorney on the agendizing of these items. I understand that they were properly agendized as reviewed by our city attorney's office, the 3 ordinances under one agenda item.
Adrian Corazani, City Attorney's Office, yes, these are implementing ordinances for a single community plan. They support the same policy, and that policy has been discussed at length, and this is simply transmitting the ordinances to effectuate the policy.
Great, thank you. And our city clerk, there were some initiatives raised with respect to noticing. Anything that stood out that you may have reviewed during the time that the speaker mentioned it, and to check on the notices that went out?
There was no noticing requirement for these ordinances.
No legal noticing requirements. That's part of the planning department's outreach on these items. Okay.
City Attorney's Office, just to also underscore that the notice requirement was satisfied previously by the previous hearings on the plan, and this is just the form and legality portion of the implementing ordinances.
Okay. Any questions or comments on this? No? Okay, well, I'd ask that we move this item and just note that this is something that we certainly appreciate as we're attempting to update more of our community plans. So I want to thank the planning department and the council office and the committee for their hard work. More specifically in this ordinance, as they solve some long-term issues and adjust the local zoning to better reflect where development in the community has been going, while also protecting residential neighborhoods. The Old Granada Hills Residential Floor Area District will replace an existing interim control ordinance, which was a stopgap measure, with a long-term solution to preserve neighborhood character, and I understand that the new standards for equine keeping will help ensure this use. So that is special to the Valley communities and that will remain supported and feasible into the future. So with that, are there any objections to, no objections? So ordered, approved, moved, and approved. Next item.
The next item, Councilman, is item 3. What's before you is the city attorney prepare ordinance for the specific plan amendment relative to the development of a Target store in CD 13.
Okay, staff here on this item?
And also, Councilman, the GPA, the general plan amendment.
Okay. Staff here on this item? Welcome.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Blake Lamb with the Department of City Planning. I'm here today to present to you an ordinance to amend the Vermont Western Specific Plan. The ordinance is before you today as it has been reviewed by the City Attorney's Office for form and legality. It's been forwarded to your committee. The City Planning Commission approved this ordinance amendment at its November 12, 2015 meeting. The amendment will establish land use regulations, development standards, and design guidelines for a new sub-area F within the Vermont Western Specific Plan. It will also change the sub-area designation of the subject property, which is a new Target store at Sunset and Western in Hollywood. Change the sub-area designation from sub-area C to sub-area F. The City Planning Commission, at its November 12, 2015 meeting, made findings that the amendment would be in conformance with the general plan and in conformance with public necessity, convenience, general welfare, and good zoning practice. On March 22nd, 2016, this body heard this matter and voted to recommend approval of the SNAP amendment proposed by the City Planning Commission, but with one change that was requested by Council District 13. The change was to modify a recommendation by the City Planning Commission, which required the child care, which is a requirement of the specific plan, required the child care to be provided on site. The request by City Council District 13 would instead allow projects in sub-area F, the new sub-area created by the amendment, to utilize an in-lieu fee option in satisfaction of the on-site child care requirement of the SNAP. The City Planning Commission at its meeting in November had extensive discussion over this issue of the child care and whether it should be provided on site or an in-lieu fee. Because the City Planning Commission recommended the child care be provided on site, the ordinance has been disapproved on behalf of the City Planning Commission. That's what's before you today. However, the findings that were made by the City Planning Commission fully support the amended ordinance and support the adoption of the amendment as proposed and as before you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions or comments for staff? No. All right, Douglas Copper, John Daines, Richard Schuman.
Hi, my name is Doug Cooper. I'm with Greenberg Farrell. I'm a consultant to Target, and I'm here to support the project and answer any questions if you have them. So.
Thank you. John, did I pronounce that correctly? Daines? Daines?
John Dews.
Dews, okay. Oh, that's a W, okay.
Yeah. Senior Development Manager with Target Corporation, Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm here also just to thank the city for all the efforts over the last 18 months in terms of working on this proposed ordinance, and obviously we're in support of this. We're certainly looking forward to a successful conclusion to this so that we can continue with the, or complete the construction with the construction jobs in place, and then actually open the store with a number of several hundred permanent new jobs within the area. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Richard Schuman, Janet Carper, Laron Gubler.
Thank you. Richard Schulman, I'm an attorney for Target. We support the ordinance. I'd like to thank staff for bearing with us through all these years. And I just wanted to confirm that we have withdrawn the request for the general plan amendment for the road standards. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Janet Carper. I'm a resident of Hollywood. I have to say that this just really shocks the conscience to hear how easily people are willing to violate what is supposed to happen, which is that there should be a general plan with consistent community plans. And to do a spot change like this is basically reshaping the law to fit the violating project rather than shape the project to the law. And as a citizen, I really don't know what you expect me to think or do about this, that this is what my city thinks is okay. I just find this so incredibly egregious. They had every chance to abide by the code. They decided not to, and so now you're just going to change the code. But as a citizen, I'm expected to abide by the laws of this city, am I not? If I get a parking ticket, if my car's towed, I have to abide. I don't understand why these people get to do whatever they want, and then you just reshape the code for them. It completely violates common sense and our law.
Thank you. Fabio Conti, Janet Weiland, and Barbara Carmichael. Welcome.
Good afternoon, council members. LeBron Gubler, President and CEO of the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce, here to support the action before you today, the amendment to the general plan and the creation of the sub-area F. This is not a spot zone. This is an amendment that is consistent with the court directive. We think it's time to move forward, to adopt this, and to resume construction on the target. The overwhelming number of residents in Hollywood are waiting anxiously for the target to be finished and to be opened, as well as the 250 jobs which will benefit the community. So we urge your action to approve the recommendations today, and let's move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Fabio Conti, resident, property owner, business owner in Hollywood for 25 years. So obviously from rock bottom we'll see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm here to support you and support the resolution because Hollywood is really in need for this facility. Every resident I spoke to, they're all urging to get this done quickly. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for hearing us. I'm in support of the issues. I'm sorry, Janet Weiland. I'm Vice President of the Churches of Scientology of Los Angeles. And we have approximately 2,000 staff members that live within a half a mile of the proposed project, not to mention other members of the church that live in the area. Not a day goes by when I'm not asked when the Target is going to open. We've had no department store within miles of our area since the Sears closed many years ago, and we really would like to move this forward. Thank you for consideration.
Thank you. Susannah Furrios, Brian Folb, and Doug Haynes, after you.
Barbara Carmichael, I live in the community. I've been looking forward to the Target opening for a very long time. I understand it was approved, even though it shouldn't have been, and I appreciate the council for coming up with a solution so that the project can move forward. I think it's a great benefit to the community, and I think the pros way outweigh the cons. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Susannah Furrios. I both work and live in East Hollywood, very close to this proposed target, and I wanted to say I very much support the project. I want to have it there, as well as many other people that I work with. Thank you.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Brian Folb is my name. I'm a property owner and resident in the Hollywood area for over 50 years. My family is several generations in the area, living and working in Hollywood. I know this area very well, where the proposed Target is been sitting for 2 years, unused by the residents of the community. It's such a needed amenity. Everyone who lives in the community needs this Target and wants it. And it's just a shame that these technicalities had to keep this from this important amenity for the community from the residents. So I appreciate all the efforts that have been put in to get it resolved. It's unfortunate that so many of our city resources had to be used to get it resolved, but I appreciate all the efforts, and let's get the Target open. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug Haynes, George Abrams, David Bell.
Hi, my name is Doug Haynes with the La Mirada. I have a neighborhood association. I want to point out a few things that have been discussed before. First, this target could have been open 8 years ago if it weren't for the intervention of Eric Garcetti to stop the project that originally was proposed, which was a code-compliant project that was one story. Also, the technicality is that the court overturned the illegal project. First, I've provided you with additional objections, and also want to point out that the Neighborhood Council and the Hollywood Design Review Committee have consistently been in opposition to this project, as has been the community. I've provided you with additional objections. I want to point out that the city attorney report and also Blake and the planning department letter are both all wrong in saying that the commission approved a child facility that had to be on site. They said it could be within a mile of the site. So I want that corrected in the report, and I want that corrected in the letter because the commission's action is inconsistent. I have other things to say. First of all, one other thing. Target offered $179,000 for child care. The estimate was $2.8 million. They need to provide child care. They need to do it right. Thank you.
George Abrahams. Having child care a mile away or allowing an in lieu fee defeats the whole point of having the SNAP child care facilities on sites, presumably for people who will be using public transit, and if they have to take their child a mile away and then go to work, it's just completely impractical. And there's no reason to have so much chapter and verse about the nature of the facility if they could wiggle out of it so quickly. All the same problems remain. This is a new project. You can't use an addendum when you're dealing with a new project. The GPA, of course, is for a one-block site, violates Charter Section 555 and the liquor license. There's no findings to support the public necessity or convenience in an oversaturated area. And Target's development manager is going to be sending out his resume as he doubles down on stupid, trying to build an illegal facility. If he really wants a Target, he can tear it down and build the right one.
David Bell, Daniel Wright, Rick Abrams.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is David Bell. I first got involved with this Target project back in 2009 as a president of the Neighborhood Council, the East Hollywood Neighborhood Council. Then I got involved as an attorney representing litigants opposed to the project. I know there are people in favor of the project. There are people opposed to the project. It really doesn't matter at this point. The people who are opposed to the project will continue to litigate on the issues that keep being handed to them by the city. Time and time again, we opposed it on the MND, then they went and did the EIR, then we opposed it on the exceptions to the specific plan. The court ruled in our favor. Now you're going to do an addendum, so there's going to be litigation over the addendum. When they go back and tell you to do an EIR, there's going to be litigation over the EIR. If the city would just once and for all do it right, they can move this project forward the way the community, people in the community claim to want. But what happens is nobody seems to listen. We've been right time and time again, and the city simply won't listen. There is irreversible momentum in favor of this project, despite the fact that not only have the community consistently raised the correct issues, but the court has backed the people that have raised those issues. Thank you.
Daniel Wright. Sir, did I, Rick Abrams? You're at Rick Abrams, right? Okay, Daniel Wright and then Rick Abrams. Yeah.
Daniel Wright of the Silverseed Law Firm on behalf of La Mirada. Let the record reflect that today La Mirada submitted additional argument and evidence to the record rebutting the latest contentions of Target. I'd also point out that this project has been changed significantly since our appeals were heard, and yet we received no notice of our appeals being considered today, which I object to. As fully documented in prior submissions to the record to the City Council, you are about to violate CEQA, the City Charter, Section 555 as to general plan amendments, and established case law regarding spot zoning. Internal communications that we've seen of the city also reveal pre-commitment of the city to only one path instead of preparing a new EIR for the new project it proposes to approve. An addendum is not the proper environmental clearance. Today's action either applies to multiple parcels in the SNAP area and no analysis has been conducted on these potential new sub-area F projects, or special privileges are being granted to Target over similarly situated properties. It constitutes unlawful spot zoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Rick Abrams, Wayne from Encino, and Chris Robertson from CD13.
Hi, my name is Rick Abrams. I submitted some stuff in writing to you. This is a new issue I don't think that you've heard about before. It's come to my attention that the new ordinance providing that the developers have to pay for attorney's fees was supposed to dovetail very well with the developments, but now they're really hitting loggerheads, and they're developing a whole gaggle of catch-22 situations. What's going to happen is that there's going to be a lot of additional litigation over this statute as it applies to the Target store. I request that the city attorney take my letter into consideration and take the time to review these quagmire of issues between these, that the statute that the developer has to pay for the attorney's fees is creating. Because if you think the last litigation was bad, this next one is going to be twice as bad. Thank you.
Thank you. Wayne from Encino.
Yes, the bad work of Planning Director Blake Lamb. Yes, that's right. I could figure it was her work. Every time I go to these the Central Planning Committee meetings and the Commission on Planning, this damn Target thing, it won't go away because it's fucked up. It can't be saved. You have to go back and do it right. That's all. Everybody wants the little doggy with the fucking ear, with the eyepiece, right? Because that's what we need in America, another place to go buy cheap fucking Chinese-made shit, right? I mean, we need that more than housing for the homeless, right? We need a place to go buy foreign-made cheap fucking shit, right? That's necessity. And to spot zone and violate 555, it's ridiculous. The courts are going to send this right back to you. Do it right. Then we'll get the target.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, Council members. Chris Robertson, Planning Director for Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell of the 13th District. I will be very brief. We've been before you numerous times to express our strong support of this project. This is a project that the Councilman very much wants to see under construction. It has overwhelming community support. It will be a tremendous asset to the community and bring hundreds of jobs to the area. I'd like to thank the Planning Department for all of their hard work, the City Attorney for their thorough review of the ordinance, and I'd like to thank the Chair and the Committee for your time and consideration. Thank you very much, and we ask for your support.
Thank you. So with that, any questions or comments? None. Colleagues, we heard this item just several weeks ago, and we voted to grant in part and deny in part the 4 appeals, and we adopted the recommendations of the City Planning Commission. The City Attorney was directed to review the ordinance amending the specific plan for form and legality and has transmitted the final document for us to vote on today. I'd like to move that we deny the GPA as it was previously withdrawn and approve the City Attorney prepared final ordinance. So moved and seconded. Any objections? So ordered. Thank you. Next items.
Public comment, Council.
Public comment, okay. Wayne Spindler. You pass?
Usually when I have public comment, you usually get up and walk out, but you have more than one, so it's good. Again, for the 20th time, where is your committee member, Mitchell Englander? Where is he? He's not here. He was over in the budget committee across the way. You're telling me he couldn't walk over here and visit you on number 2? He's only running for the Board of Supervisors. Vote no on Mitchell Englander for the Board of Supervisors. He should be suspended from this committee. I keep saying this.
Wayne, as a chair, I'm trying to call your attention. This is about planning and land use matters, okay?
But you have 5 members and you're only operating with 4 because he's busy raising money for the Board of Supervisors.
Sir, you made your point that he's not here and you kept extending it about his race for the county supervisor seat. It has nothing to do with land use planning. Now, if you're talking about land use planning, I will allow you to continue speaking. This is a warning. Thank you.
Okay, because his issues on planning and land use are bad for the county. That's why I should vote no for him on the Board of Supervisors. He should be sitting in a chair doing his job, earning his $170,000. Finally, he lied he's a police officer. That is a crime. He's a city employee lying he's a police officer.
Wayne, your time
it should
is up.
be
Thank you.
investigated by
Wayne,
the
your time
district
is up.
attorney.
Thank you very much.
He's a criminal.
Thank you.
He's a scumbag. Vote no.
Thank you, sir. Doug Haynes.
Hi, my name's Doug Haynes. I'll try to be a little less animated. The scoping meeting for the Hollywood Community Plan update for the draft EIR has come out, as you know. As a result of litigation, it's something that planning is going through again. I just wanted to point out that the notice that's been sent out includes SCAG forecasts for the population increases in the Hollywood Community Plan area. SCAG had an estimate that was 25,000 more people than actually lived, according to the census figures, in Hollywood. That's why it was originally thrown out. SCAG figures are notoriously overinflated, so already it says that the existing condition includes a population of 206,000 people. The census tract figures for Hollywood were 198,000 people, and that was a 20-year decline of almost 16,000 people. Population in Hollywood has been going down, not up. So they're starting from wrong figures, and they're basing it on wrong figures going forward. It just means that everything is going to be incorrect as far as the draft EIR. They need to get accurate information. And I will point out, if I could, when you were at LUSD, they have an excellent unit there that's devoted to demographics. That's where we knew from the start that population was dramatically decreasing because the seat count was dramatically decreasing. And that's how we knew the population was initially going down. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other items?
No, Council.
No. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.